What is up, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Today we are checking out the Jam Pedals Harmonious Monk MK. It's a really nice sounding pedal that allows you to do either harmonic trem or a very familiar amplitude trem. Now, harmonic trem, I really enjoy harmonic trem. That's the type of tremolo you would find on like brown face Fenders or even like a Magnatone. And I don't know the complexities of how it happens. I know there's like an oscillation between an out of phase signal and a regular signal, but I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I just know it sounds really cool. It's got almost this like chorusy kind of univibey thing. So yeah, does a really nice harmonic tremolo, but simply by throwing a switch, you can go to a more familiar and great sounding on this pedal, Amplitude tremolo. Now this one's the Mark II. This one still allows you, though, to access the feature sets from the Mark I. So we'll get into that. As a matter of fact, let's just go with what's on the top of the pedal. So you have a depth control. That's going to control, obviously, the depth. Next to that, you have your speed control. That's going to control the speed of the LFO. You have a level control, which is your overall level control. We'll get into how great that is in the mix. And then you also have a mix control, and we'll get into how that sounds, because using the mix control with the depth control and kind of blending things really helps dial the pedal in. So we'll get into how that sounds. But a level and mix control, to me, are kind of must-haves on pedals like this. The switch on top, as I mentioned, allows you to choose between harmonic trem or amplitude trem. And then the switch in the center allows you to choose between three different waveforms. So with the switch in the up position, you can choose square wave. In the center, it's a sine wave. And then down, it's a reverse sawtooth. And they all sound really great, all super usable. We'll get into how they sound in the demo. The switch on the bottom left, foot switch, is the bypass. The switch on the right is your tap tempo switch, but it also has some other kind of functionalities to it. You can use it to take advantage of what's called a ramping function, and that's only in the Mark II mode. You can't do it in the legacy mode. And we'll get into that in the demo, but in the Mark II mode, you can actually use that. You can hold down the switch, ramp up to a faster setting, and then hit the switch again, and it'll ramp down, kind of like an old Leslie cab would. We'll get into that in the demo for sure. When you switch this to legacy mode, it goes back to what I'm assuming is the Mark I functionality. So everything's exactly the same, except that tap tempo allows you to choose between two different speeds. So you can set your low speed, and then when you hit the tap switch, you can either have it double, or you can have it do basically like 1.5. And we'll get into that in the demo as well. It's like I'm not going to go through all of the here's how you do it, but I'll try and let you guys hear all the different modes, definitely between the two modes, the Legacy and then the Mark II mode. Now there are internal potentiometers in this thing. I like the way they sound stock, but you have a bass, middle, and treb mini potentiometer at the top of the pedal. And then down towards the bottom, you also have an input potentiometer. So what that's going to be great for is if you want to hit this thing with a Rhodes or maybe a synthesizer, or you want to hit it with a bass that's got hotter pickups. Maybe you got a guitar that's not perfectly matched to the low end or something. You want to tweak that in. You can absolutely do that. I'm not going to do that in this demo, but that's a really nice feature set within the pedal. So yeah, let's give this thing a listen. It's the Jam Pedals Harmonious Monk Mark II. Okay, let's check this thing out. Here's just the guitar straight into the amp. And I'm going to start with the Harmonious Monk in the harmonic trem setting, and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so cool. What I was doing there was just manipulating that really cool ramp function that's accessed via the tap control. Now that's only in the Mark II mode. There's a Legacy mode that we'll check out later, but in the Mark II mode, you can either tap in a tempo, you can manipulate your tempo via the speed, or you can ramp up and down between your low and high speeds and adjust the amount of time or the ramp speed itself. So right now I've got it set. To ramp up fairly quickly, I could make it so it ramps up slower, and I'm not going to go into all of that stuff. I will tell you that you hold down the tap and manipulate the depth control to change the ramp speed. And then to change the speed that you ramp up to, you hold down the tap and manipulate the speed control. And that's how all that works, and it works awesome. Or, you know, we can just change speed control, obviously. Or I can tap it. You know, there's all kinds of functionality on this pedal that's just so cool. Okay, so that's how that works. While I've got it in this harmonic trem mode, let's just listen to the waveforms. They all have a really cool, sonic personality to them. So right now we're in the sine wave. I'm going to switch to the square wave. So you can hear right away without manipulating any controls, that sounds way more choppy. I like those types of like square wave at faster tempos. I just moved it back to sine wave. Now let's check out the reverse sawtooth. I can hear, like, I shouldn't have turned up the depth, we'll leave it where it is. I can hear more of a, like there's a definitive, there's not like a chop there, but there's more of kind of almost a throb to it. And that sounds cool too. I personally really like that sine wave. I think it feels the best for my style of playing, but it's a definitive difference between the three. Just very cool functionality, very versatile. Let's leave it in sine wave. I'm just going to sweep the depth control. And basically, I'll go through all these controls. So here's the depth off. So that's depth all the way up. I like it about right there. Now let's do the speed. The speed can go, it's a really crazy range from almost non-existent and so slow all the way up to crazy fast. So plenty of range there. The level control is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm so glad that's there because that's a big deal for me, especially if I'm, any harmonic tremolo, doesn't matter. What can happen is you'll turn on a really nice sounding tremolo and all of a sudden you disappear. So it's nice to be able to actually go slightly above unity gain when you turn the pedal off and on. And not have your guitar disappear. Now I can make it so it hits the amp even harder, which is really cool. I actually took advantage of that for that slide solo on that Harmonious guitar. I actually turned the depth way down and the speed down and just cranked the level because I didn't necessarily want to hear the harmonic trem. I just needed to push the amp harder for the solo. You can hear a little bit of it, but that was a really nice feature. So that's the level control, really very handy. And speaking of handy, the mix control is awesome too. So we're basically, like right now, that's the most effect. We can blend towards clean. And I really like that, especially in the sine wave mode, but I found that you can manipulate the depth and the mix together to really dial in the amount of just movement you want. I liked it about right there, but I mean, obviously that's to taste. So those are the controls. We've heard everything it can do. We know about the ramping. I'm just going to go ahead and move it to the trem, or amplitude trem. That's a really nice sounding tremolo. So right now it's in the sine wave. So all the functionality is exactly the same. I'm just going to let you hear the three waveforms. So that is sine wave. Now we'll go to square wave. Way more choppy. Now obviously we can make it so it isn't as choppy. Or we can make it so it's super choppy. Which is a really cool You know, if you like that kind of stutter chop effect, it works great. So we'll go back to sine wave. Obviously smoother. Now we'll go to this reverse sawtooth. That has more of a pulse to it. It's not choppy, but there's a definite pulse. So that's the two, that's amplitude, there's harmonic, went through the controls in this. The one thing I want to show you really quick, the sound of the pedal doesn't change, but the functionality of it does. I'm going to go ahead and go from this Mark II mode to what's called the legacy mode. And you do that by holding down both switches till it blinks. Now we're in what would be considered legacy mode. And it's really all the same features as far as how it sounds, but the way the tap tempo works is you can basically choose your speed, right? And then when you engage the tap tempo by just touching it once, it'll either double your speed or it'll basically do like a 1.5. I think right now it's set to 1.5. Now I can change that so it doubles, and I can do that by holding down the tap switch and waiting for this to blink twice. Now we're doubling. So that's just a really nice feature. Like I said, that's part of the legacy mode, and it sounds great. All this, as far as how the pedal sounds, there's no change between the two modes. It's just functionality. So I just wanted to point that out. So that is the Harmonious Monk Mark II by Jam Pedals. If you've got any further questions about it, definitely go to the website. I found they actually sent me a video manual on this to just kind of run through the functionality of it. And it was great. So if you want to watch that, it's really, really helpful. But hopefully you guys have a really good idea of how this pedal sounds. And as always, I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you next time.